Welcome to Truth by Billie Beene Flash Update. Today's date is April 30, 2025. Time in Texas about 11 a.m. Thanks for subscribing and hitting the like button. That helps my channel to grow. Some of the things we'll be covering: tornadoes, the sun and the blackout in Europe, and China backs down in the President Trump's tariff war. And could we see nukes fly today or tonight in the Middle East? Possibly. I think it's possible. Some of my sources are God in the Bible Patriot subscribers, space weather on YouTube now, formerly Suspicious Observers, BPEARTHWATCH, Monkey Works, Mr. MBB333, New York Prepper, Hal Turner, plus. So let's get started. We currently do have a stream of tornadic thunderstorm activity. 3 out of 5 chances to produce tornadoes in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana. This morning in Texas, it's about central and north Texas, including the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and then moving also into Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma for sure. So heads up on that. And now we have this. Okay, I'm going to take a couple of minutes to explain what I believe happened recently, and that takedown of the power grid in Europe. And President Trump has it right. He's already put forth an executive order to harden U.S. power grid, and I will put this forth to President Trump. That should be number one on everyone's table because of what's occurring in space and the sun and the earth. What we just saw in Spain and Portugal could easily happen just that quickly in the U.S. and other nations. So we'll get started. So we have Spain, Portugal. The power outage also expanded to parts of France, Belgium, the Netherlands. And we're hearing this and that as reasons for that sudden and dramatic power outage that took everything down. It took down planes and trains and automobiles and cell phones and landlines and the power grid completely across 2 nations, Spain and Portugal, and parts of France, Belgium, Netherlands. Now, why did this happen? I believe it happened. I agree with Ben Davidson, currently of YouTube, Space Weather, formerly Suspicious Observers, that this takedown happened because from the sun, we had a sudden penetration of plasma. Now, initially, the governments of Spain and Portugal were putting out that this was caused by an atmospheric anomaly. And then Ben Davidson later could come out and verify, based on his data, that there had been a sudden penetration of the sun's plasma. Now, why did this occur? That occurred because the Earth's electromagnetic shield has been going down, and I agree with Mr. MBB333. This likely involved the South Atlantic anomaly. And what is this? This is a weakening in the Earth's electromagnetic shield down around the U.S., and it initially took place around South America. That's why it's called the South America anomaly. But it has split, and I put forth it had split in 2022 into Europe. Now, what is the South Atlantic anomaly? So we have a shield around us, the electromagnetic shield that comes from the core of the Earth. The shield around us comes out the poles of the Earth. In the South Atlantic anomaly, which has been recognized to exist for decades, we have a dip in that electromagnetic shield. For years, it's been put out to be 120 miles above the Earth. I submit, based on my own assessment, that it has come down possibly near the ground level. Now, it has split, and I had data for that to support the splitting, into Europe in 2022, and also over the U.S. So we have the U.S., we have Africa, we have the Canary Islands, we have Europe. The South Atlantic anomaly has split and now is weakening over Europe, across Africa, and across the Canary Islands. It will soon dramatically also impact the U.S., where we have openings in our electromagnetic field, and it's going almost down to the ground, that would allow anomalies from the sun, like a sudden penetration of a plasma spike from the sun. I believe that's what caused the power outage in Spain, Portugal, and other areas in Europe. And that then, on top of the sun taking down the grid, we also had problems in Europe in restarting the system because of problems in the synchronization of different types of power uses. That includes wind and solar. So there's a problem in using renewable forms of energy like solar and wind and syncing that power usage with traditional power sources. So that's going on. Can we look for more of these occurrences? My answer is yes. Why? Because we have on the Earth, we have the electromagnetic shield down. We're also in the process on the Earth of a pole shift. And what is that? That's when the magnetic North and South Pole, the Earth core, would stop. I subscribe to the model that says it would stop for 30 minutes. Then polarity would switch, meaning in the future on our compasses, we would say this is north and this is south. So we have that going on. And yes, definitely we could see impacts on our power grid. President Trump is good to move ahead with immediate hardening of the U.S. power grid. So that's going on. And now we have this. Yeah, we had, in addition to the verification by Ben Davidson of the sudden penetration on Earth by a plasma spike from the sun, We also had a verification from another source. That would be New York proper, who engages with military radios all over the earth. And he also made that connection. I wonder if the sun caused that power outage because he could see there was an impact on military radio systems on a global basis. So yeah, that's going on. And now we have this. So we have, yes, and so that power outage in Europe also affected water systems. So it immediately took down municipal water systems. It immediately took down ATMs and credit cards could not be used, and brought about immediate panic buying at the stores, and people needed cash to buy, and bottled water sold out within a few hours because the water systems in Europe also stopped functioning. So that's going on. And now we have this. Is the Earth on the brink of a nuclear exchange? I believe it could be possible. So we have Pakistan, we've got India, and I also believe that recent terrorist attack that took place along the border with Pakistan and India in the Kashmir area, where 26 citizens from India were killed, and India blames it on Pakistan. Now, skirmishes between these two nations have been going on for years, and there are extreme terrorist groups, I submit, in both nations that have been taking this back and forth. Now, yesterday, the government of India met for several hours, and they came out yesterday and said, we give the military of India full okay and permission to strike Pakistan, and the Indian military has been given the right by the India government to decide when the military of India will strike Pakistan, when, where, and how. So then, that happened late yesterday. Then this morning, about 2 a.m. in Pakistan, the Pakistan Info Minister, Ada Tahrir, came on TV in Pakistan at 2 a.m. in the morning to warn the people of Pakistan to expect attack by India within 24 to 36 hours. So that's going on. And do I believe they would use nukes? I believe if Pakistan feels, and Pakistan has made this statement, if they feel as if they're going to be destroyed, they will use nukes. So it's good to know what to pray against. And now we have this. President Trump is definitely winning the tariff war and against China. And we have this going on. And I agree with Adept 2030. He put this out yesterday that it appears strange the way that China is reacting to the tariffs from the U.S. with all this retaliation against the U.S. If the information being put out by China is accurate, that U.S. trade only accounts for 20% of China's total trade. Adept 2030 made this observation. it appears, based on the way that China is reacting to the tariffs, that China's trade with the U.S. must be much larger than 20%. And we're hearing this already in April. Factories are closing, and multiple sources are coming out showing Chinese workers protesting in the streets because the factories are closing. They're not paying the workers. They want their money. And we're having this come out. This came from Hal Turner. The U.S. AI assessment of the trade war with China. And the U.S. AI assessment is that China could have a depression similar to the depression in the U.S. in the 1920s by July. And we do see China capitulating on tariffs today. And we have this from WERX. President Trump has brought about the arrest of 150,000 illegals just since he's been inaugurated, and 135,000 have already been deported. Now, it's believed by many analysts that we have 20 million illegals in the U.S. So we're going to have to stay committed as a nation on a day-in, day-out basis to arresting and deporting illegals for much of our anticipated future. So that's going on. And we have this over the weekend, just in Florida, 800 illegals were arrested in a strike coordinated between federal, state, and local police agencies. So that's going on. WERX verifies there are still U.S. military deployments going on to the Middle East and the Panama Canal. Now, we know the Panama Canal has been associated with CCP activities. So that's going on. And WERX brings this out. A new U.S. budget bill is currently in Congress, but it includes dramatic increases in the defense budget. I wholeheartedly support this by President Trump. I believe after God, family, and country, two things keep a nation free, and that is a strong educational system and a strong military. WERX points out in this new budget, there's no money for Ukraine. Way to go, President Trump. Yeah, get us out of wars. And we have this from BPEARTHWATCH. We're seeing many European nations now follow the lead of the U.S. and want the citizens protest and want their governments to close their borders. This is happening in Ireland, Germany, England, Poland. So that's going on. And we have this from Breitbart. U.S. truckers applaud President Trump, who recently put out an executive order that all truckers in the U.S. must speak English. And the American truckers are saying that the foreign truckers who don't speak English can't follow, traffic signs, but are also undercutting the American truckers. So American truckers applaud President Trump. This concludes my flash. I love you, and I'll see you soon.